Tell me again. Tell me slow. Tell me with a straight face with your hand on the Constitution that wasn't originally written with mine in mind. Tell me, it's not about race. Because I just watched a nation bend itself into a pretzel trying to explain away what black people have been surviving since chains were considered commerce and our humanity was listed as cargo. Tell me, it's not about race. When a black child named Cyrus Carmack Belton was shot in the back and the courtroom answered with 2 words, not guilty. The bullet traveled through flesh. The grief traveled through generations. The verdict traveled through history, and somehow justice never arrived. But it's not about race. Tell me again. Then tell me how Carmelo Anthony stood before a jury claiming self-defense and walked away carrying a conviction for murder. Tell me why black fear is always treated like aggression, why black survival is always put on trial, why black children are expected to calculate danger perfectly while everybody else gets the benefit of panic, mistake, confusion, or fear. Tell me, because the math ain't mathing, and America loves math until the equation starts exposing it. See, this country has a receipt. A long one, from slavery to convict leasing, to Jim Crow, to redlining, to stop and frisk, to school to prison pipelines, to prisons filled disproportionately with black bodies. A receipt so long it could wrap around the Washington Monument and still have enough paper left to cover every excuse ever made. And before somebody says, well, not everything is racial, you're right. But when race keeps showing up at the scene of the crime, at the scene of the arrest, at the scene of the sentencing, at the scene of the funeral, don't ask me why I noticed. Ask yourself why you didn't. Because history leaves fingerprints, and America has never fully wiped the blood from the evidence. Look, in 1857, the Supreme Court said black people had no rights that white people were bound to respect. Hear that again. No rights. Not some rights, not limited rights, no rights. And while the language changed, the residue remained. The ink dried, the ideology didn't. So when people say, why do black folks always bring up race? I ask, why does race keep showing up first? Why does it arrive before the police, before the lawyers, before the verdict? Why is it always sitting in the jury box, already standing behind the witness stand, already whispering in the ears of public opinion? Why? Because race in America isn't a chapter. It's the binding. It's not the stain on the carpet. It's woven into the fabric. And every time we try to discuss it, somebody grabs a bucket of denial and calls it unity. But denial ain't unity. Silence ain't healing. Blindness ain't progress. And pretending not to see race has never stopped racism. Now here comes the part where people get uncomfortable. Good. Comfort is a luxury the dead don't get. The dead don't get debates. The dead don't get think pieces. The dead don't get another chance. The dead get headlines. Their mothers get anniversaries. Their fathers get memories. And their communities get lectures about patience. So no. I'm not interested in making the conversation comfortable. I am interested in making it honest. Honest enough to admit that justice should not look different depending on who walks into the courtroom. Honest enough to admit that equality cannot exist where empathy is rationed by race. Honest enough to admit that America hasn't decided whether black innocence is as valuable as white fear. And that's the wound. That's the wound beneath the wound. That's the question beneath the question. Because maybe the issue isn't whether race exists. Maybe the issue is that race keeps being the invisible hand guiding outcomes while everybody pretends the table is moving by itself. So don't tell me it's not about race. Tell me why race keeps appearing in the footnotes of our tragedies and the headlines of our outrage. Tell me why black parents still have to raise children with survival manuals instead of childhood. Tell me why justice feels like a lottery when the defendant is black and certainty when the victim is. Tell me. And if you can't, then maybe, just maybe, the question isn't, why are they making everything about race? Maybe the question is, how much evidence must be stacked up to the heavens before America finally admits that race has been in the room the whole damn time?